down, be a good girl. You can lay down. You can lay on my lap. Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to Novel Idea. My name is Dia and this is Poppy. And today I want to go over the rest of my October reading. Okay, so the first one, I already went over the first few that I finished in October, so I will leave a link in the description box if you want to go back and watch that video. So the ones that I'm covering today are ones that I have not covered yet. So the first one is the Barnum Museum, and this is by Stephen Millhauser. This is a book of short stories, and there were several that I recognized as ones that had been adapted into movies or TV shows that I had no idea that they originated from Stephen Millhauser and from this collection in particular. I enjoyed it so much. It was so much fun. I can't wait to reread several of them. And I just was really entertained by the story thought process that he went through and the amount that he was able to tell in such a short number of pages. And so I am anxious to read more by Stephen Millhauser now. I don't know what else is out there, if there's anything else out there, but I'm very excited at the possibility of reading more by him. And then Ray Bradbury short stories, and it was just a collection literally called Ray Bradbury Collected Short Stories. And it was a collection of all different ones. Some I had read before, some I had not. And I just love being in Ray Bradbury's mind. I love the way that he thinks. I love the way that he expresses things. 99% of the time, he is very wholesome and quirky, and I just enjoy him so much on page. Then I picked up The House of Dudley, and this is by Joanne Paul, and this is a nonfiction, and it is all about a family that were known to be scoundrels during the time of King Henry, Queen Elizabeth, and just the struggles and putting a very human face on some of these people that we just automatically assume were like all of their other relatives. It read a lot like a novel, even though she was very good about citing her sources and all of that. It was just really wonderful. I really, really enjoyed it. My tea today is Harney and Son, and it is hot cinnamon something. It's a black tea. So I try not to drink this too late in the day. The next book that I completed was Poor Miss Finch by Wilke Collins. And this one is one I was reading with Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia. And I don't think either one of us were prepared for how funny this book was. Our narrator is a widow who is very precocious and she thinks that she has the answers for the world's problems. And she, when she finds herself a widow and finds that she needs to kind of make her way in the world, she becomes a companion to a young woman who is blind. And it is all about this girl falling in love. There's some intrigue in it. We figured it out pretty quickly what was going to happen. We didn't figure out the way that it was going to happen, but we did figure out what was going to happen pretty quickly. So it was not a sensationalist kind of novel that you're used to with Wilkie Collins, but it was still so good. The humor is what really saved it. I think that both Tiffany and I feel like it could have been a little bit shorter. It lagged a bit. You could have left out about 4 chapters, probably 5 chapters, and it would have been even better than it was. But it's still a wonderful, wonderful book, and I had such a good time in it, and I'm so glad that we read it. Then I finished The Trumpet Major. This is by Thomas Hardy. Yes, Dia read a Thomas Hardy. I am not the biggest fan of Thomas Hardy, but I did enjoy this. I didn't end up loving it like I thought I might at the beginning, because I was enjoying it so much. Another one that was much funnier than I expected, and also had a female protagonist that is very un-Hardy-like. The story in the end let itself down, or Hardy let it down. So for me, it wasn't a perfect read, but it was still a very, very good read. It's about a trumpet major, and he has someone that he is falling in love with, and yet there are other people who also are in love with her. And we just learn a lot about him and his character, and it's taking place during the onset of the Napoleonic Wars. We don't hear a lot about the war itself. It's mainly just about this little village and the soldiers that are stationed there, and the ins and outs of this family of this trumpet major. The next one that I finished was another nonfiction. It was Dickens Land, A Curious History of Dickens London, and this is by Lee Jackson. And I enjoyed this. It was not quite what I was hoping for. I kind of wish that there would have been a map, and that all these things that were being talked about would have been laid out on the map in the book, and that we would have seen like where in London these things were that were inspiring Dickens to write stories around those things, and why they were significant to the story. But I just really wanted to be a little more immersed, and it didn't feel very immersive. It felt very much like I was on a tour bus, and I was on the tour bus, and they were pointing things out as we were going by, and then talking about those things until we got to the next touristy item that they needed to point out. And so it was good. It just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. And I finished another buddy read with Tiffany. We read the first book in the Kristin Lavransdatter trilogy, and it's called The Bridal Wreath. And it was a lot more drama than I was expecting. This first book covers from when Kristin is fairly young, around 6 or 7 years old, all the way up until she is 18 and ready to be married. I really loved when she was young, and when she was meeting certain people. There are lots of people in this book that I really loved. And then as she grows up, of course, and emotions get more entangled in her decisions and her choices, that it just becomes much more YA, much more angsty. Less drama would have made it a better read for me. However, the writing is absolutely beautiful, and I am loving the overall story, even though there are details that I wish would have just been done away with. For the most part, the overall story is something I'm still really enjoying. All right, then I also read another nonfiction, Home at Grasmere, the journals of Dorothy Wordsworth, along with some poems by William Wordsworth. And a lot of this I really enjoyed. A lot that could have been edited out. I didn't think it was that important. There were some journal entries that were nothing more than Rain stayed in, had this for dinner. That was the entire journal entry. And there were enough of those that I just felt could have been eliminated. It wasn't necessary to, so I just felt it could have been edited a bit. But the longer journal entries and the ones where I really got to hear Dorothy's heart for where she was living and her brother that she was living with, William, and devotion that she had to him and to his happiness and to making sure that his environment was something that was conducive to his writing, and all of these other things was just so lovely. Thought it was a perfect end of the day read, and I could just read a few journal entries and feel so edified. I thought it was lovely. Next, I finished by Rowan and You. This is the second book in Melissa Harrison's duology, and this is about some nature people that are not seen most of the time by anyone other than children, and only certain children can see them. But their job is to really make sure that nature is taken care of. And they have begun to disappear, and so they have gone on a quest to try to find certain things and certain people to help them to keep nature at the forefront of human minds. I thought it was very sweet, really precious friendships and point to the story. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. I just really liked it. I saw a reel on Instagram or something recently where somebody was saying that they were trying to explain a book that they liked, and it was Nacho Libre saying it was beautiful, I liked it, it was lovely. It was so true. So true of me. Honest Faith by Charles Spurgeon. I did this as a read along with as many as wanted to join in with Tiffany, who was leading it, and Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library. Beautiful minutia, Tiffany. And again, just such a powerful, beautiful, impactful read. And I didn't think it was going to be when we started, because it felt very scattered to me. I wasn't grasping what he was trying to do. But by the end of it, I did get where he was going with things, and we were able to see that he was kind of grouping things together, grouping thoughts together. And as we talked through things, and as I came to the end of the book, I felt that I truly had gone through a maze. So the secondary title of Honest Faith is The Clue of the Maze. And it really did feel like he took us all the way through a maze and kind of showed us the turns that we needed to take in order to get to the next turn, in order to find our way all the way through. We always come away feeling completely changed and hopeful, and like we have just spent a good time with our focus outside of ourselves. So thank you to all of you who joined in on the live discussions, and thank you to Tiffany and Chrissy for just being faithful, even in a busy time. I love it. I read Three Men on the Bummel by Jerome K. Jerome with Rainy Day Wreaths and Beautiful Minutia. We did Three Men in a Boat, to say nothing of the dog, last year, and we all really loved it, so we wanted to read the second one this year. And I think all of us wish we wouldn't have. It was boring. It was just boring. I found that the very beginning of the book, when the wives of the three men were involved in the story, that there were some very funny moments with them. But they do not go on the Bummel with the men, and the story lagged after that. There were some moments where I did laugh, but for the most part, I don't think any of us really wish we would have read this one. I think we wish we would have picked something else to read. I have been reading Stillmeadow to Sugarbridge. Is that what it's called? Stillmeadow and Sugarbridge, maybe? By Gladys, Tabor, and Barbara Webster. And these were letters that these two dear friends who lived a couple of states apart from each other would write back and forth and tell each other about what was going on the farms, or, you know, on the property where they were living, and friends that they had in common, but mainly special, poignant moments in life. And I started it back in April when I first picked it up, and I had read January to April, and then I read every month for that month until I got to October. And then I was like, you know what? I have time. I am going to go ahead and read the next 2 months and just be finished with it. And I loved it. It's going to be a favorite book of the year. It is absolutely beautifully done. It is funny. It is succinct. Talk about good editing. There was nothing in there that was not a necessary thing. and I just loved it. I especially loved Gladys Tabor's letters. I think that Barbara's letters were beautiful in their own right, but Gladys Tabor, you can tell, is a writer, and she just knocked my socks off. I thought the art of letter writing is a lost art, and I would love to bring it back. I absolutely loved it. Can't recommend her books highly enough. This is the third Tabor I've read, and I love her. I think she's amazing. So that is everything that I completed in the month of October. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all had a wonderful Victober. I sure did. I found some things that I was very surprised by, and I love that. Even though I didn't have any, 5-star, A+ kind of reads, I still had so much fun. Thank you for being here. You want to say goodbye? Bye, people. Bye, friends. We'll see you again soon in another video. Like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to. Bye.